All right. The case of Samantha Bailey, a doctor and former TVNZ presenter, in front of the Medical Council was heard earlier this year, and she has been struck off as a doctor after a hearing of the Medical Council's Professional Conduct Committee, or its equivalent. She's been described as a discredit to the medical profession after the tribunal analysed each of the 23 videos that related to the charges against Samantha Bailey and found all of them to be inaccurate and misleading. And in some of those videos, Bailey made personal attacks on Dr. Susie Wiles and Professor Michael Baker, who were at the forefront of New Zealand's pandemic response. It's interesting the comments that were made by the New Zealand Medical Council, that rather the tribunal, the disciplinary tribunal, in coming to its conclusions. They said these comments, this is Samantha Bailey's comments, would likely have caused those watching her videos to distrust the advice being given to the New Zealand government and the consequential public health response. The practitioner's conduct had the potential to cause significant impact by undermining public trust and the experts advising on New Zealand's public health response to COVID-19 and attacking their reputation. She brought, or was likely to bring, discredit to the medical profession as a whole. And I'm going, whoop-de-bloody-do. It's the nature of life that you should be able to question any authority in this country and the folk who are presenting those views. And if you don't like it, welcome to freedom of thought and freedom of speech. As I said, I wanted to talk to Samantha Bailey about this. She's unavailable. She seems to have pulled herself out of public life entirely. But another practitioner who went through very similar was our next guest, and that is Dr. Alison Goodwin from Napier, I think, who actually went all the way to the High Court 2 years ago in June 2023, the hearing was, fought the Medical Council over a very similar issue and won. And she joins us now. Dr. Goodwin, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. Where are you, Napier or Hastings?
Havelock.
Havelock North. Oh, gosh, see? It's not Hastings, is it? I know. People from Havelock North never come from Hastings, Alison. They come from Havelock North.
Well, it's getting closer. They're getting closer together, but yes, they are separate still.
Oh, you see, you'll be saying that about Flaxmere next. Listen, Alison, you went through this yourself when you questioned some of the efficacy of the COVID vaccine and of the response of public health authorities during the COVID-19 pandemic. Just give us a bit of background as to what you said that led to you facing the disciplinary tribunal of the Medical Council.
Right, okay. So my process, first of all, was slightly different than Sam. I haven't been to a disciplinary tribunal. I was suspended for 10 months and I've been re-educated. I've gone through a re-education program, but I didn't go through the disciplinary tribunal.
Right, so you were suspended without a hearing?
Well, I had yes, effectively, yes. I was suspended within 2 or 3 months of the Medical Council making contact with me, saying that they'd been made aware that I had spoken. They'd been made aware that I was saying things that they didn't agree with. And yes, very promptly, they offered me, I think I've sent you through the voluntary undertaking. They offered
yes, I have seen that,
sign
yes,
to say that I'd shut up and stop speaking. But I declined to sign that because I thought, well, I'm actually entitled to speak and I've got things to say. And so they quickly suspended me. And then while I was suspended, I went through this professional conduct committee process. And then the end of that was that instead of being referred to the disciplinary tribunal, I was referred to a re-education program. And so I've been re-educated.
That sounds like China. It doesn't sound like New Zealand, just quietly.
Well, yes, and it was an interesting program. I mean, they called it an education program. It's me that's calling it a re-education program. But it was all about quacks and conspiracy theorists and echo chambers. It wasn't about COVID. It wasn't about what I was saying. It wasn't about the science that I had been disagreeing with.
Yes, because that's the problem for us. During this COVID-19, there was a panic, you'd have to say, throughout this country from the highest of levels, which permeated through our media, our professional organisations, and and obviously politically as well. I see that there were guidance statements provided from the Medical Council and the Dental Council as well, I noticed, to all practitioners at that time that said you basically have a professional responsibility at the time to basically echo or to sing chorus to whatever was the official advice from public health authorities. Have I got that right?
Yes, exactly. Yes, that guidance statement was issued in April 2021 as the vaccine started being rolled out. It basically said that we expect that all doctors will be vaccinated themselves, that you must discuss the benefits of the vaccine. It doesn't, if you read that whole document, it doesn't say that we must discuss the risks of the vaccine. And it also says there is no place for anti-vaccination messages, but it didn't define that. And a number of us went back to the Medical Council and said, well, look, what is an anti-vaccination message in the context of informed consent? I mean, for some people, every medical procedure has risks and benefits. So for some, the benefits might outweigh the risks, but for others, the risks might outweigh the benefits. And if you're weighing it up and helping a patient weigh up their risk benefit ratio and you decide, well, actually, no, for you, the risks outweigh the benefits, is that an anti-vaccination message if you say that to the person? And I mean, I couldn't get a clear answer out
But
of the Medical
surely, I
Council.
mean,
What exactly is an anti-vaccination message?
yeah, well, but the other thing is that, and the reason that we're having this chat, and the reason I guess that you went to the High Court and won your case against the Medical Council, is because surely even a medical practitioner has the right to question official advice. That it is, if
Well,
they believe and they have an argument to support that belief, they have a duty, I would suggest to you, to question that advice.
yes, I was just going to say we have a duty to speak up if we see harm being done. And during 2020, there was harm being done by locking people away, by making people scared, by stopping people attending funerals or births of loved ones, of not being allowed in another country. There was harm being done there. As a doctor, it was our duty to speak out about that. As the vaccine was rolled out, there was harm being done with that as well, and with the mandates, just the psychological pressure that people were tortured by those mandates, and that was causing harm. And so, yes, I felt compelled to speak out.
But that wasn't why you were in trouble, though. Not because you were criticising the political responses or the lockdown responses and the consequence of. You got into trouble because you were questioning the anti-vaccination messages. Oh, sorry, the vaccination messaging, correct?
Well, yes, it ramped up. So during 2020, I mean, I sort of started speaking publicly late 2020. But yes, the Medical Council got more concerned about the doctors who had questions, who had a different opinion, who were looking at science, that perhaps the Medical Council wasn't looking at. And yeah, so I started speaking about my concerns that, well, I mean, I guess it was ethical reasons that made me start speaking. It was informed consent. There was a lot of information. We were being told safe and effective, and that was about it. There's a lot more information that's involved in informed consent. There's
Yes, and
also
that's a
first
point.
do
Well,
no
that's a
harm
point the
when you're
judge
doing
made as
harm.
well. In his judgment, Judge Kelly made exactly that point because the conduct in question, in which you said basically that the mainstream media and the COVID-19 advertising campaign was only presenting one point of view, and that informed consent included a patient knowing that the vaccine was new or experimental. You challenged the effectiveness of the vaccine in stopping a person from catching COVID. You said there was no long-term safety data about the vaccine. You said that the vaccine hadn't been studied in pregnancy or the elderly. It hadn't been the subject of adequate monitoring of adverse reactions, and that individuals under 60 years of age and otherwise healthy were at minimal risk of catching COVID-19. You said all those things, yeah?
Yes, and I've got the evidence to back them all up.
No, no,
I
no,
mean,
no, no. I just wanted
that
to
comes from the
confirm
government.
that those were the things that's the reason why the medical council said to you you can't practice and suspended you because you said those
Yes,
things.
well, those sort of statements, yes, absolutely. Those were the things that I was saying. I mean, the risk management plan that MedSafe had says there is no long-term safety data. This has not been studied in pregnancy. It has not been studied in autoimmunity. We don't know, I was referring to official MedSafe and government documents in the main when I was speaking.
The judge also came in his judgment. He said, well, he could understand why the medical council got a bit upset with you, because some of the things that you were saying he didn't feel, this is the judge, were correct. But nonetheless, he came down on the side that you were entitled to say them and that it was your individual right to do so. That's how I read the judgment. Is that how you read it as well?
Well, not entirely, no. I mean, I read the judgment more as that the judge thought the medical council was right to have concerns about me, but they had other tools in their toolbox that they could have used before going to the draconian measure of suspension. So they could have negotiated harder on that voluntary undertaking, that document that I could have signed to shut me up. Or they could have put conditions on my practicing certificate. So they could have, instead of me signing a voluntary undertaking, which is a sort of secret agreement between me and the medical council that the public can't see, they could have put conditions on my practicing certificate that would have been visible to the public that says Dr. Goodwin shall not speak about or speak ill of the vaccine. So they could have used that
But
rather
even
than
yes, but
suspending me.
that's not a solution. I mean, the reality is we're now into part two of a COVID inquiry, and this time it's going to be dealing with many of the questions that you addressed in your initial criticisms as to the efficacy and effectiveness of the vaccine, and whether or not people were given informed consent prior to taking it. That's part two of the inquiry. I mean, I would have
Well,
thought
the
in a
safety of the vaccine is the main thing. The
well, but I would
efficacy
have
is
thought that
part
in
of
a
it.
stable democracy, Alison, that people should feel free to dissent and to offer an alternative.